Okay, so this is part 2 of putting together, really day 2 of putting together my shoe. And I need to kind of clean up my area. You don't want any of these little pieces of clay to be sticking into your slabs. They won't really hurt anything, but they probably will just pop out and leave a texture. Okay, grab some clay. The wedge this. And if you're finding that you are running out of clay, there is plenty in the office. So help yourself. I need to wedge this. Where's my board? There we go. I find it's easier to wedge on a board than it is on the canvas. Gotta get rid of all these little pieces that aren't stuck together yet. So I get them blended and mixed in through the wedging process. All right. Okay, I'm going to slam this against the table and freak my dogs out. But I'm going to turn the sound off. All right, so I'm going to roll this out on my canvas. And the canvas is actually going to help dry out the clay a little bit, so it'll be easier to work with. And let's move this in a position, actually move the camera. Just stand up to do this. So it's too difficult to do it, to roll out the clay and sit down. So I don't know if you guys know I'm from Texas, but I'm sort of from Texas, and I'm getting a lot of text messages from family in Austin, and they say it's snowing again, and they don't have any water. Power, but no water. So crazy. Okay. You notice I keep flipping it. Same rules for rolling out slabs. You always have to flip it. And what I'm trying to do is to create, to keep this from being too much where it's overlapping, because you can't use the sides. So I want to use as much of this as possible. It's really hard to roll out on this canvas. Slide around everywhere. I'll get my pencils in a second so I can roll things out nice and straight. Actually, move this out of the way. pencil there, and oh, there's one. Pencil here. Kind of running out of space. So definitely a lot more room in the classroom to do stuff like this. And I'm going to need my smooth rib in a moment. Hopefully I brought one home. All right, let's see. All right, so find a smooth rib or a gift card or your old school ID. There we are. And go over your slab. This should pull up any air pockets you should see. I might have a couple. I don't see any. It's definitely not completely flat with not having enough space to work and trying to use short pencils, but I'm not really worried about it. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut my other side. And then I have the, let's see. This is the toe. And then the heel is over here. So I don't have enough to do both, but that seems a little off anyway. I can do this part. You know what, I'm gonna do this one. Right, and to cut it, I'm just gonna use my toothpick because that's what I have today. Around. Make note of where these are. There we go. Take that off. And here's this one. So when I cut this out, cut out the heel, I lost, some of it didn't show up in my template when I used the copier. So I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger than what it is, just in case it needs it. You probably don't have to do that. I do. Oh, man. All right. Okay. You know what? Let me compare this to my other clay. Make sure. Yeah, you can't see that. Oh. Just want to make sure it's the same thickness because I don't want to have one that's have this clay be too much thicker than the other one. All right, so it holds up on its own. So I really don't need to let this like sit or wait in order to attach it. It's not going to flop over. And part of that is just because I made it so thick. So, and these are pretty quick to put together because they're so small. I think I'd like to try to make one that is like skinnier or thinner so that just to see how easy it is to put together. You do not know what that was, but it scared my dogs. Okay. So here is let's seem a little thicker actually. Okay. Yeah. This seems a little thick, so I'm going to thin that out a little, and then cut it out again. Why is that important? Because if your one's too thick, then the other one is going to, then it's going to cause some issues with it cracking later. So just thin it out a little. I'll fix my. Work. Again. Okay. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but we cut this part at an angle. So I'm just going to use my ID. That works really well. Down. Make it a little easier to cut with. Yeah, there we go. Still a little awkward, but holding it. Do this, maybe that's better. Yeah. There we go. Should be kind of a 45-degree angle. A little choppy. That's all right. This going too. This one's a little more floppy than the back. Like that. Now, this is drying a lot. I'm probably gonna have to start working on this edge a little bit. And I've already formed it, so it's not going to move on me. It's formed and dried, basically. Like it still has some moisture in it, but there's not too much. I can't move it very much. So I let it dry out, probably a little too much. When I add this part to it, it means I'm not going to really be able to put the tongue in very easily. So I probably want to do that now. I'm just going to put this over here, and then, I mean, does it match? I'm going to trim these back here. If you compare it to your shoe, you can kind of fix some things along the way. Now, because this clay is so soft here and this clay is a lot drier, this actually is shrunk down a little bit compared to this. They were the same size. So I just have to kind of be okay about that and try not to fix it now. I want to fix it when this is dried a little bit more. And what I mean is if I need to change the size of this side. But I mean, it was originally the same size, so it should match up eventually here. All right, I need to put that tongue in there because this, and really, maybe I'll use this for the tongue because that doesn't take that much for the back. In fact, I can probably use one of these pieces that I have left over for the back. So small, like this would work. Okay, so this will be the tongue. I did not roll out or did not make a template for the tongue, unfortunately, so I'm gonna have to kind of guess. And I'm gonna roll it out thinner. All right. Okay. Well, the cool thing about the canvas texture is actually the texture of the shoe, but unfortunately, you do have to smooth it out every time you work with a slab. It's called compressing, and it makes sure that it pushes all the particles together. All right, so that would go in there. So I'm going to guess based on this shape here, which you can't see. Put it like that. Okay, goes about that big. It doesn't have that shape at the top. Okay, just compare it. I think that's still too big. I'll have to squish it out a little bit to really make it feel like fabric. And I do not have to go all the way there. Okay. All right, so I'm going to fix this. Go ahead and fix the side. Like, if I fix, I mean, I want it to look like this shoe here. My smooth rib. So it probably goes about here. I can always add clay if I need to, but it'd be great just to get it right the first time. Okay. And because it's going to be difficult to do this once I have this piece attached, I want to go ahead and just start like thinning out this edge so it feels less like a block of clay and more like fabric. This is the thing that makes it feel more realistic. I'm going to make some huge changes to this once I have the shape together, but until then, I want to make sure it looks, you can recognize it as a Converse shoe. So, I mean, that's already a big difference. When I add the stitching and the grommets, it's going to really look like the shoe. So then that means this would go like here on the inside. So I need to thin that out some more because it's making it sit kind of away from the clay. And if you haven't rolled out your clay yet, maybe a 1/4 inch would be better. Although this is pretty easy to deal with. Just removing some clay after it kind of sets up is kind of a nice thing.